Noah's Arcade, how can I help you? No, we don't blow goats for quarters. I gotta go. Hey guys, Mandy Fraker coming at you again to talk about movies. As always, please hit the subscribe button, like this video, and share that shit. So in the 1980s, action movies took a huge turn for the best, man. I mean, it totally changed the entire action genre. And one of the huge contributors, in my opinion, is Arnold Schwarzenegger. So I wanted to go over 3 of my favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger action movies from the 1980s. So I want to start with my favorite movie when I was a kid, which was, some things fell, Commando. I don't know if you guys can see that real well. So, Arnold Schwarzenegger classic from 1985. One of the reasons why Arnold wanted to do this movie was because he'd already been a robot and a caveman, and he wanted to kind of maybe be a real person for an hour and a half or so worth of a movie. So he took that role because of that. He did a lot of his own stunts. That is not an uncommon thing for a lot of actors. I think Tom Cruise does some of his own stunts. A lot of people do it. Arnold Schwarzenegger had to do his own stunts mainly for one reason. And that was the fact that they're having a lot of trouble finding a body double that would be, suitably comparable to his, muscular physique. So he just said, hey, screw it, I'll do them. And in the process, I think he hurt his shoulder, I think he might have hurt his ankle or his knee. He also stabbed himself accidentally, of course, with a knife. Another really funny thing about that, Bennett, played by Vernon Wells. My dad always used to laugh about how silly his outfit looked. It was very tight, and he looked like, I heard it described as Freddie Mercury on steroids. So his outfit being tight was not on purpose. He auditioned for the role, it didn't work out. Somebody else auditioned for it, it worked out. That guy couldn't do it, so he had to come back. And by the time Vernon Wells came back for the role, he was already, the costume was already made. And it was made for a smaller guy, and they didn't have time to stop production and, tailor the costume to his size and weight and all that. So we had to wear a tight costume. So it's kind of a funny thing there. And it was, by accident at the same time. Also in the end, there's an island that he goes to called Valverde. That is a fictional island. They mostly filmed this movie in Mexico. That part of the movie anyway. It's a fictional island, and if you recognize the name Valverde, it's because it's the same place that Dutch and all the other guys get dropped off in Predator. It's also supposed to be like some non-extradition treaty type country that's mentioned in the movie Die Hard 2, as well as several other movies. And if you recognize the house in the end, I believe it's called the Harold Lloyd Estate. That house is also used in the movie Beverly Hills Cop in the shootout in the end of the movie. So, those aren't the most interesting facts. We also have the Predator, man. The Predator. I don't know if anybody can see that here. But I have a lot of other action figures and things like that relate to 1980s Arnold Schwarzenegger. So, that movie was absolutely amazing, man. It was another, I believe James Cameron wrote that movie too. I'm not 100% sure. I lost my place here, man. The blood for the Predator was made by mixing that goo inside of glow sticks, the green stuff that glows when you snap the glow stick. They use that and KY jelly to make his blood. That's, that whole KY jelly thing, it just kind of freaks me out for a number of reasons, honestly. There's a scene where Dutch throws his machete in the beginning of the movie, doesn't have it for the rest of the movie, and part of the reason for that was the machete weighed 20 pounds. And he wanted to find a way where, poor Arnie wasn't carrying this machete around. So they had him, throw it at somebody in the beginning of the movie. That's when he says, stick around. And then, another cool thing about this movie was the fact that, I don't know everything. People say, well, how do you know all that stuff? Well, I read about it on the internet, and sometimes I have to write it down because I can't memorize it all. It's a little boring memorizing stuff, So, like I said, this was also filmed in Valverde, and it's rumored, and it's probably just a rumor, that the DoD, Department of Defense, attempted to develop a camouflage very similar to what the Predator had, using fiber optic cables and stuff like that. And it wasn't that it would cloak the soldier, it would mirror the surroundings, so he would look like whatever it was he was around, jungle, stuff like that. That's a rumor, and at first it sounded very believable when I read that fact, and then I realized that the first sentence is it was a rumor. So, you know, do whatever you want with that. And then, but the most exciting facts come from the movie Terminator. This is very similar to Rocky in that James Cameron, the writer, just like Sylvester Stallone, wrote this while he was down and out, man. Homeless in his car, he just fired his agent, and he was having a lot of trouble getting people to buy this script the way that he had it written. Somebody had even turned him down. I think Paramount Pictures or something turned him down and said, no way, we're not doing that. And so he lost an opportunity to make a lot of money and ended up finding somebody to buy it, and Terminator is what it is today, man. It's fucking Terminator, man. There's a funny story about that. Schwarzenegger was filming the movie. He had, like half his eye exposed, blood all over him, the whole costume and everything. And they were taking a break for shoot. And he wanted to go get lunch at a restaurant in Los Angeles and had forgotten that he had the costume on still and had scared some people, apparently. Another really neat thing about this movie, they were actually looking at O.J. Simpson. That's right, Orenthal James Simpson in the 1980s for this part. And they thought he was too nice a guy, and they didn't think that anybody would take him seriously as a cold-blooded killer. On to the next thing here. Yeah, and a lot of this movie was filmed guerrilla style, which I love. This guy didn't have a lot of money, so, they would basically go out. At one point, they shot a scene at 3 o'clock in the morning, and they had one shot for it, because the windshield he breaks in the beginning of the movie was going to cost too much money to get another windshield. So they had to do it really quick. And they actually had to change the clothes in the trunk of the car for Arnold Schwarzenegger to put on really quick so that he can run away. So that, a lot of that was filmed with no permits. There's a scene in the end of the film where Sarah Connor drives away through the desert, and they had to film it very quickly because the police were nosing around. And these are just things that I love, man. 1980s Arnold Schwarzenegger action movies, especially Schwarzenegger. I mean, I love, Bruce Willis and Van Damme and all those guys too, man. But, I don't know, man. I always loved the heroes played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, man. And he came from a different country, and childhood friends of his said that the things he dreamt about as a young man were moving to America, becoming a politician, and marrying a Kennedy, as well as becoming an actor. And he did all of those things. How many people can you say that have accomplished things at that feat? I mean, he had an accent. He didn't speak very good English. He was a huge, towering man. Up until then, you really didn't have action stars or really anybody like that. And was basically told, well, this isn't really going to work out for you, bud. And, look at him now. So, that's all I got for you today, guys. As always, please hit the subscribe button, like this video, and share that shit. Have a great day, guys.